You ever use that phrase, I'll be glad when this is over? It's a phrase I found myself using a lot, and especially in the last year during the pandemic. I'll be glad when this is over. And this can be any number of things in our lives. I'll be glad when this project at work, or this tax season, or I'll be glad when this part of school is done. I'll be glad when some relational dynamic. I'll be glad when this is over. I'll be glad when fill in the blank. And in a lot of ways it makes sense, because there's a lot of different pressures that come and crowd into our lives, and sometimes it's circumstantial, and if something changes, there'll just be a release, there'll be some more peace, some more freedom in our lives, and it makes sense. But on the other hand, I think it's something to be really careful with how often we say it. This idea of I'll be glad when, because if you're like me, if you actually look at how often you think that or say that, it actually turns into like most of our lives. And I want to look at some words that Jesus said about himself in response to this idea. He said, I am the true vine. He said, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I remain in you, you'll bear much fruit. Apart from me, you won't bear any fruit. And I think of it when I think of this phrase, I am the vine, when I think of this idea of I'll be glad when this is over. Because it makes me think to myself, what are we pointing to as the thing in our life that will finally bring peace and joy? What are we pointing to in our lives that will finally bring peace and joy? Is it when we get to a certain thing? When I was younger, it might have been when I'm graduated from high school. Oh man, that's when it'll be. When I get my license, when I get a girlfriend, whatever it will be. What are we pointing to that says, oh, that's when I'll have peace and joy, truly peace and joy? And Jesus says, I am the true vine. He's holding himself up against the counterfeit vines, so to speak, the things that we go to in life that we think will fulfill, whether that's money or like success and achievement and promotion, or whether that's a certain milestone like graduating or moving into a new position, whether that's just a certain image we have in our mind of the type of life of freedom that we imagine will bring all sorts of peace and joy into our lives. Jesus says, I'm the true vine. And if you've gone after any of those things for any number of years, the longer you go after them, the more you realize nothing outside of us can satisfy. It's not one relationship. It's not one amount. It's not a certain amount of money. It's not things. It's not experiences. They're good in the moment, but then they still leave you wanting more and longing. And I think this experience of longing for more is the human experience. We were made for a connection with God. And Jesus says, I'm the true vine. I'm the true vine and you're the branch. If you stay connected to me, you will bear much fruit. And that's this invitation, and it's a promise. I think the human experience is that we're longing for a connection with God, who is the source of peace, who is the source of joy. He's the source of hope. He's the source of love and life and flourishing. And the invitation is, hey, come to Jesus. Come to God. Stay connected to Jesus like a branch to a vine, and you will start to experience the source of this life. So the next big question in my mind is, how do I do that? And I think the answer is simple. The idea of remaining in Him or abiding in Him, staying connected to the true vine, it really comes in turning our hearts to God in prayer. I think His words, the words we read of Jesus and in the scriptures, are a big part of it. They shape our imagination of who He is and who we're connected to. But there's this idea of He is the true vine. And when we turn our hearts to Him in prayer, we start connecting to Him in a different way. And what we see in the scriptures is that everyone who comes to Jesus is treated with kindness and mercy. And I believe that if you come to Jesus in prayer today, again, maybe for many of us, or for the first time maybe, He will treat you with kindness and mercy. And He truly is the source of life that we need, especially in this year, especially when we'll be glad when this is over. But we start to realize, oh, what if it's possible to have the peace and joy that God has available today in the middle of the challenging situations we're in? I want to invite you to turn your heart to God with a little bit of faith in prayer today and connect to Him and begin that relationship or restore that relationship with Him. I want to invite you to join us on Sundays as we go through the I am statements of Jesus, one of them being, I am the vine. I want to invite you to, if you want to know more about Jesus, join us for our Why Jesus class, which happens weekly. And you can check all the info in the description. Thanks so much for watching. And I want to just tell you today, Jesus is the true source of life. And when you connect to him, his life can flow in and through you.